Good morning, folks. It is 11:03. It is August 26th, 2022. My name is John Decker. I'm the Director of Community Services at Alta California Regional Services, Alta California Regional Center. Almost changed our name there. And welcoming everyone today to Coffee with Community Services. We've got 55 folks on this morning. And I will start off by introducing some ACRC staff that we have on. So I see Tara there. Good morning. And we got some community services staff. So I see Christy on there. I see, let's see, Shirley on there. I see Rima on there. Good morning. I see Dan Kilmer, another community services staff that's on there. I see Gino Nessie, community services manager. I also see Jordan Eller, another one of our specialized services and supports manager. We have Carly, our employment specialist that's on this morning. My assistant, Zach, as always, is here as well. And we've got Jason, another community services specialist that's on here. We've got some client services managers that are on as well. So we've got Carol on here, and Dana and Heidi, always proudly representing the greater Grass Valley area. Maybe that's what we'll call it. Yeah, there we go. So welcome everyone this morning. I see that Tracy Brown has also joined us, Associate Client Services Director. Good morning, Tracy, as well. Today we are going to talk about a number of different things. I will also just start off by saying thank you very much. Last week we recorded the first 15 minutes of Coffee with Community Services for the Six Beds Conference that is going on this week. And so I just want to share that they really appreciated the information that was given to their members for their conference. So I appreciate you all being patient as we did double duty with a conference presentation and Coffee with Community Services at the same time last week. For this week, I'm going to give you an update on the employment grants, what's going on with those. Talk a little bit more about the HCBS funds that we have looking to give out related to DDS's most recent plan of providing $284,000 to the regional center for additional ACRC kind of grants related to HCBS. We're going to discuss the ACRC family meeting that is going to be coming up on September 1st in the evening related to alternative services ending. And I'll share the infographic again that we have sent out. The invitation went out widely yesterday. Additionally, Jordan's going to give you guys an update on the health and safety waiver process and some of the things that her and our new health and safety waiver specialist, Norma, are working on. If I have Jennifer Bloom pop in, I will have her help me, but I do want to share about the EI collaborative that's going on with some of our early intervention vendors looking to find ways to help, in essence, provide more services for our ever-growing population of young ones that are coming into our regional center system. And I don't see Hewitt on here, but and he might pop in at some point, our emergency coordinator, but he's got some go bags that have been delivered and he's working on distributing those. And so we can maybe share a little bit about that as well. So I am going to start by throwing it over to Carly. And I just want to share overall, Lori Benalis and I received, it appears to be probably about 10 or so employment grants that were submitted that indicated Alta was going to be impacted. Not all of those grants originated from our area. There's a number of people that applied for the DDS employment grants that applied for them for statewide action. And so in using that money to impact service delivery at all of the regional centers. And part of the submission of the employment grant is that if you are planning on impacting a regional center, you have to give the information over to the designated folks. And Lori Benalis and I were designated, and Carly's the one that gets them all, though. And so Carly's got those, but then Carly also took on some additional duties this week because Alta is partnering. Well, I should just say this week, last week, and for the last month, a couple of months or so, Alta is partnering on a application as well. So I'm going to throw it over to Carly and have her share a little bit about what the idea is that we're putting forth for the employment grant.
Thanks, John. So, as John said, we had the pleasure of working with Lou Vismara. For those of you who don't know, he's one of the founders of the Mind Institute. Brilliant, brilliant man. As we partnered with him and Sierra College to create a program called the LIFE program, Learning Independence for Future Employment, or rather, not create the program, but apply for a grant that will create the program. Um, the idea of the program, or the goal, is to create a more streamlined system in the community college infrastructure to facilitate successful competitive employment and ensuring that college is directly correlating, creating pathways to future employment for our clients. For anyone, it's difficult to go to college and work at the same time to gain that work experience. I'm sure a lot of you know, for our clients, trying to go to school and work at the same time, it's 10 times more difficult. So a lot of them will leave school with their degree but going into that workforce have no work experience, have no practical experience. So that's kind of the goal of this program, is to ensure that they are getting that experience and just kind of intertwining that and creating pathways to successful employment when they leave college.
Thank you very much, Carly. Yeah, it's I think a great opportunity for us to look at aligning ourselves with the junior college and really looking at identifying individuals that are interested in this early on. And I can't speak to how timely this is when you look at our regional center and the changes that we are going through. I think we learned at our all staff meeting a couple of days ago that we've hired 180 new staff members in the last couple of years, COVID staff members, basically. And with that, there's so many opportunities to be able to train folks on ensuring that we truly are looking at employment first for our clients. When employment first came out in 2013, again, I don't know that we hit the expectations that folks were having as far as competitive integrative employment, participation in paid internship programs, etc. But I really like the idea of this collaboration with the junior colleges. So, and I cannot understate how dedicated Sierra College is to this project. I think we had like 10 different Sierra College staff that Carly and I were seeing involved in the emails, all the way up to the president of the college as well, who's intimately involved in this initiative. So we're very excited about it. We will see what DDS decides to do with the funding. And some of you who have been in these meetings know that part of our performance contract with DDS was looking at employment specifically and looking at partnerships with the junior colleges. And so being able to have this opportunity and be able to go through an employment grant and have the experience of Lou Vismara and some of the other contractors, we're very excited about that. So
And
I'm looking forward to it.
John, I also want to add, one of the aspects of this proposal and the program is working with the school districts, the K through 12 school districts, to ensure kind of a seamless transition for those who want to further their education in college. Because as many of you know, that's kind of that gap between when they leave high school and what the next step is. There's that gap between receiving services and what they're going to do. So that is part of it, is trying to bridge that gap into their next steps, and if further education is an interest of theirs.
With that, I have not had an opportunity to review all of the other grant submissions that we just received, like in the last couple of days. But I just want to appreciate, because I saw Alice Tapley's in there. I saw Cara Wattillo reached out to us. So we saw just a number of our local vendors that also really expressed an interest in submitting these grants and trying to find these creative ways to increase opportunities for competitive integrated employment. And I just want to give a shout out to Carly as well. Carly's still a relatively new employee for us here over at the Regional Center, and she really is doing a fantastic job as it relates to all of this. Gary, who has joined us as well, another one of our community services specialists that will wave to you guys, hopefully. And I see Scott, a QA specialist, who is here too. And I swear I got Christy in the beginning. I think Christy Schaefer. Pretty sure I got you in the beginning. There we go. All right. Well, regardless, like I say, I just really appreciate the work, Carly, that you've put into this. And it's been, it's certainly a lot of work, but I think a big payoff for our clients and giving them more opportunities moving forward. And just having that partnership with the junior college can open up so many more doors for us as well too. So excellent. I to jump over and talk to you all about the HCBS. The HCBS services funding to support compliance. Alta California Regional Center was charged a couple months ago to work with our vendor community for the purposes of figuring out how we are going to use $284,000 to promote compliance and support with HCBS. Our vendor community met with us, met with our previous community services manager, Olivia, met with our HCBS specialist, Cindy, and our vendor community said, we really want to support the efforts of the collaborative between Valley Mountain Regional Center and Alta California Regional Center to increase the amount of staff that we are able to access, because we really feel like there's a direct connection between having staff and being able to deliver a fully HCBS compliant service to individuals. And the basic argument is, if you don't have staff, you will be putting people in more congregate settings. It will be less individualized for them. We, have a concern with that will lead to individuals not being able to have their goals met, with the IPPs. So for us, we felt like Regional Center was completely on board with that as well. All the other things that DDS wants us to do related to getting into compliance with the HCBS is all predicated on having staff to be able to do it. And right now, you guys do not have the staff to be able to do it. So again, we felt that was the best use of our time and money as well. So with that being said, there's $142,000 that we are looking at putting forth to this project. And with that, we are looking at a consultant contract, website development costs and maintenance costs. We're looking at hosting job fairs in our local areas, both down in VMRC's area and our area, specifically for our vendors. We're doing a little trial of this with some day program vendors, I believe, coming up in the next month, right? At the end of next month, Carly?
Yes, beginning of next month, September 9th. So if you are a day and employment program vendor and are interested and have not reached out to me, feel free to send me an email. I will put my contact information in the chat.
I don't know, Gene's been around a few years, but I don't know that we've ever held a vendor specific job fair like at our regional center. And if ever there was a time where it's needed, it is right now, when we are desperately trying to get individuals into day programs, being able to have their needs met and work through the transition for alternative services. And so Carly has been working on this project with the other specialists, and we're really excited about providing this opportunity. And I think, again, we can mirror it at a larger scale with all of our service providers. And again, the idea being offering a job fair where you don't have SMUD right next to you and you don't have Amazon right next to you, but instead people walk in looking for jobs in our field. And then each of you, are able to offer what you're able to offer, for your companies, because people do so many different types of things. So that's going to need a much larger space than the big conference rooms at the regional center. And so we're working on the costs related to that as well. But I just wanted to also kind of put a plug in there for doing something different than we've done before. I really like that way of trying to approach things. And so again, Carly, to be commended for getting this going for a job fair in a week and a half or so. So September 9th. And Carly has also in the chat put her contact information if any of you that are on here want to know more about it. The other things that we have talked about is the covering of like promotional costs. Are we going to put billboards up? Are we going to do radio ads to draw attention to the hiring needs of our community? The collaborative that we have developed with Valley Mountain Regional Center is working with their HR department, working with their community services department, and working specifically with their vendors. And the same thing on our end. I think I mentioned to folks, we went down to Valley Mountain Regional Center. Garrett Broadbent was there from Creative Living Options. We had Michelle Ramirez from On My Own. Eric Champa wasn't able to be present, but certainly has been very involved from UCP as well. And then again, great feedback and involvement from the Valley Mountain Regional Center vendors too. So Again, we're moving these collaborative efforts forward. We're hoping that DDS is going to fund all of these efforts, but I just want to share the regional centers are very committed to it. And so it's not necessarily contingent on us getting this funding approved by DDS, that we want to continue to move forward to support our vendors and being able to staff up after so many months and now years of devastating hiring challenges. So that's one of the things we're looking at. The other one that we are looking at is a development of a cohort of provider trainers to deliver person-centered thinking training to staff, providers, and families. And so we would be looking at a contract for that at around $35,000. We're looking at a one-on-one small group training and technical support, training resources, and tool development for HCBS compliance as well. And then we're looking at targeted technical assistance and training to smaller providers and their DSPs for whom English may be a second language. So Cindy Lay and I are going to be working on kind of putting some community-based organizations connected with each of these different HCBS grant opportunities. You may be reached out to as well as regional center vendors too. So again, looking forward to getting this off to DDS next week, these proposals, and then we will kind of see what gets approved and what doesn't get approved. All right. The next thing I want to discuss is what went out yesterday about 5 o'clock-ish, which is the upcoming family meeting related to the end of alternative services. This meeting is going to be held on September 1st, and I think it's at 5 or 6 p.m. Do you know, Tracy? I think you should have it on your calendar, I think. It's September 1st, and I think it's at like 5 or 6. But regardless, it's not really intended for this group because we talk to you guys constantly about the end of alternative services. Instead, what we promised to you all as service providers is that any of the information that we would provide to our staff, like training materials, things like that, we would also make available to you all as well. And so I just want to verify that folks are seeing the infographic that I've shown about 10 times in this meeting over the last few weeks. You guys seeing that? Shared screen? Thumbs up? Anyone? Yes? All right, there we go. And so again, the training material is very similar. This document has also been translated into Spanish as well. And so we are using this and the PowerPoint information that we provided to our service coordinators with the intent of everyone getting the same message, everyone understanding that these things are going to end and that we really need to figure out, because we have a service availability problem, what the needs of our clients are, and then and then getting those IPP addendums and the transportation service requests updated. Additionally, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quickly. So we have that training that's coming up on September 1st. Additionally, the survey has been finalized as well. That is going to be going out to folks. I sent it to Herman yesterday to send out, and I don't think he's quite sent it out yet because usually I get a notice about that. And so just a little revision here to the survey, not much, but again, just information about a upcoming workshop for providers on October 12th at 10 a.m. So this is new information from our last Coffee with Community Services. There was discussion that service providers may be interested in a workshop where we can talk about, in essence, kind of some of what we've learned, what the parameters are related to the delivery of services once alternative services ends. So we've been having ongoing discussions. I've met over the last 2 weeks with all of the day program staff. I know client services managers have begun hearing information from vendors as well about what their plans are. And so I think we've heard from at least a dozen different providers so far related to wanting to either kind of close or modify programs. And once the survey hits more widely, I think we're going to get a lot more. With that being said, though, I'm going to drop the survey right now into the chat because we've got so many folks that are on here. And if you want to jump into this like 5:30, excuse me, I read 5:30 up there in the chat already. If you want to jump in and fill out this 5-question survey, you can do that right now if you want. It's, again, very brief and easy to do. And again, we've got, oh, the note in here. Yeah. So that's from Tracy Brown. The meeting is at 5:30 on the 1st for the alternative services. So what are we going to talk about in this October 12th meeting? What are we going to discuss as it relates for revising programs? So talking about things like, what do you need a program design addendum for? Talking about different ways to utilize tailored day services. Talking about how through modification of your programs, you can maintain your HCBS compliance. One of the things that a number of providers have expressed interest in after I emailed folks after our last coffee with community services was also bringing in the Disability Thrive initiative. Some of you are familiar with, I brought Barry Giardini, I think, to this meeting, I don't know, a year ago or more, to talk with folks about the Disability Thrive initiative that's really put in a lot of work towards the delivery of alternative services and providing guidance to our service providers through webinars primarily. So also looking at tapping them in as well. I think the more creative that we can be, the more options we'll be able to provide to clients. And again, we know individuals' needs vary widely. I was in a meeting yesterday where someone told me about the client that absolutely only wants remote day programming moving forward. 5 days a week, does not want to set foot back in that building again. You know, what are we doing for that individual? How do we ensure that we've got options for that person? And again, we talk about how things change. Many of you are aware, you know, we've had remote services, you know, put forth to us in the past, and we've been very resistant to doing them. And now, you know, we are really have an open mind, and there certainly is some new language that we're all going to be open-minded about related to tailored day services as well for things like remote delivery of services. So again, I think having this workshop is really going to be helpful for folks, giving folks that opportunity to really understand what the parameters are. We're hoping to get information back from DDS about the set rate, the DDS set rate programs. One of the outstanding questions is, you know, if I'm offering remote services like on a Friday, what if I want to change my ratio? Like I'm in a 1-to-3 program, and you know I want to do a 1-to-6 cooking class, or I want to do, you know, something like that. What can I do related to that? So we're going to be working with DDS to get some follow-up answers. And we did share with folks that we would be creating a graphic that very clearly, kind of like the one we just showed about the transition from alternative services, that really shows what the rules were for TDS previously, and then what you can do now with TDS after this most recent budget. So again, I think that'll be helpful for us as we, you know, move forward with trying to utilize, I think, tailored day services to approximate the experience that people had with the remote services that they were getting during COVID. So I don't know if folks have any other questions about, if folks do have quite more questions about the kind of move away from the alternative services and the new, you know, type of programs, please don't hesitate to let me know. You can talk about it now, or you can email us, but the main thing is fill out the survey and get in touch with your community services specialist, because we need to have that communication to us. All right, let's see, Jordan, health and safety waivers.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. So it has been very exciting. Norma Vioretta, who was a longtime service coordinator here at the Regional Center, became our health and safety waiver specialist at the end of June. As part of our annual reporting back to the Department of Developmental Services for our health and safety waiver, this position, we have to let them know exactly the status of all the health and safety waivers that were granted the last fiscal year. So Norma is currently working on finalizing that. It looks like there was at least 50 clients that were granted a health and safety waiver during 21-22 fiscal year, and that is doesn't include all the ones that were granted specifically due to COVID reasons. So we will be turning in our report to DDS next Wednesday. This fall, we do hope to be sending out a survey to our community members regarding potential unmet needs of clients that are non-English speaking, both if that is in regards to ASL, Spanish, Hmong, all the different languages, anything that's non-English speaking. So we will be looking at trying to get some stakeholder groups together and maybe some focus groups together to really hone in on what unmet needs we might have for our non-English speaking clients. So we'll have further updates for you guys for that this fall.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jordan. Again, we want to demystify the health and safety waiver process. 5 years ago or so, DDS really made it, the Department of Developmental Services really made it a priority to fix that process and make it a lot faster. And so since then, they've also, expanded it. And Norma had an opportunity, as did Rima, to get up in front of our entire staff and talk about their positions this week. And as Norma said, one of the things that was great is the expansion of health and safety waivers to really look, as Jordan said, at those unmet needs of individuals. And in Norma's case, that was why we hired a Spanish-speaking person, so that she could really look at our community and figure out ways to connect people to services. So, and having a very experienced service coordinator doing it is fantastic. I saw a couple more folks join on there. So Laura Gorham is here, Client Services Manager. Good morning. And I see Kate as well, another QA specialist in our Community Services Department. So good morning, folks. All righty. Let's see here. I don't have a ton more information related to the go bags that Hewitt, our emergency coordinator, has gotten in, but I know that they're looking at distributing those and really looking at those individuals that are in the specific fire areas and doing that. I also want to give a plug for the Supported Life Conference. I don't know how many folks have the Supported Life Conference on their calendar. It is coming up. As our system grows and grows, it used to, the Supported Life Conference was like a centerpiece for like the whole system. And I don't know that it's quite kept up with the growth of our system, but certainly because it's held locally and we really support them, we do want to encourage folks to participate on, I think it's the 13th and 14th of October is when we are looking at for the Supported Life Conference. And I think, Tracy, you guys are doing a presentation on social rec. Is that true? Yeah. And then I've got housing. They want to talk about housing. And so we have hey there, I see Johnny on there, the Associate Client Services Director, Johnny Zhang. Good morning as well. So I will be talking about housing, talk about a lot of different things. I'll be certainly discussing our multifamily housing projects that we are working on. Definitely we'll be providing an update on our coordinated future planning initiative. And just as an aside about the Coordinated Future Planning Initiative, we are getting close. Our training date is set for Halloween. So as I've said, I think I might be in costume when we do our recording for our service coordinators and for the training. We're going to be doing a webinar over 2 days for our staff. There has been a lot of work that's been put forth by our Coordinated Future Planning Task Force. We have an excellent comprehensive slideshow that talks about the importance of planning when you live with an aged caregiver and how to go about having those challenging discussions and what are the type of things that you as a service coordinator need to know when you're meeting with a family and talking about different types of living options. And I'm very pleased with how things are coming together for this project. I'm looking forward to our staff being able to get this training at the end of October and the beginning of November. And then again, we are looking at doing more of the training in the springtime, hopefully in person at our office. So I think the housing, can't talk about housing if we're not talking about, assessing people for the type of housing that they need. And so again, really excited about the progress that our Coordinated Future Planning Initiative is making. And with that being said, I think that is my last agenda item. I did have, I was wondering if Jennifer Bloom might join us, but we did have an EI collaborative that met. And so we had Christina Suji, who oversees those services as a community services specialist. And then Jennifer Bloom, our Associate Client Services Director that oversees our children and EI services, really had a great discussion with a number of different service providers that work with our EI population about ways in which we can possibly modify the rules that exist to offer more opportunities for them to be able to take on more of our clients. Oh, I love this that it's in the chat here. Any updates on DDS survey payments? I know when I was gone a few weeks ago, I had written that down as a agenda item to talk about. So has anyone gotten their $8,000 yet? Has anyone gotten a any responses back from the company yet? Please share if so. Do we need to send a collections agency out and go get your guys' money? And so no one's heard back. No one has anything solid yet. And I'll just jump in the chat as well. Wow, that is very disappointing. Well, then that will be the goal. Zach, this week we're going to reach out to DDS and we're going to find out what the status of this is. We'll talk to Ernie, someone high up on the ladder there at DDS, and try to get an answer for them. We will not be able to deliver that answer, though, I don't believe, next week for Coffee with Community Services, because we're actually looking at canceling next Friday's session of Coffee with Community Services. Many of our staff providers are probably looking at a longer weekend with that Friday right before the holiday. And so we are actually going to send out a notice to everyone, let folks know that we're going to be off for next week. And then we will reconvene our Coffee with Community Services meetings again on September 9th, I believe. Yes, that is correct. One last thing, as I said with these meetings, we do record them. And so if you are looking for this information on our website, in the search, you just type in Coffee with Community Services, and you will be able to go right from there and be able to go to the meeting, and you can see all the links to the meetings that existed previously. Just like that. So again, if you are interested, you can go on to Coffee with Community Services. One of the things that we are going to be looking at doing underneath these, that we post, is putting in some links to the different things that we discussed during the meeting. So for example, like if I shared my screen and talked about the survey for service providers, we would have a link under there where you can click on that survey, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things that we want to do. I just realized I stopped sharing my screen as I described to you what it's going to look like. So again, you'd have the meeting dates here. And then beneath that, or we will figure it out, but we will have the links that we shared in that meeting, because sometimes we just like drop the links into the chat. And so that way people have access to them. So Zach's going to be trying to do his best to keep track of the different links that I share, and then we'll put them in with the recordings. We'll work with Thalia. Joe, I see your hand up. Oh, you're muted though. I'm going to stop sharing too.
How's that?
Now I can hear you perfectly now.
All right. Just about the $8,000 payment. Not that I received it, but I did receive an email letting me know that there was one question that I didn't answer, that I still have the ability to get the payments. If I answer the question, they're going to send me a link.
That is awesome. That is great news, because I heard from other providers that felt like they messed up their surveys and they were wondering what was going to end up happening if they did not have it completed or whatever else. So now, what did you have to do in order to get that communication from that company?
They reached out to me.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And they let me know that I was supposed to receive a follow-up email with a link to be able to go back into my survey to make the changes. Or to,
so when did you get that communication from them initially?
On Tuesday.
Okay, so you just got it. So this is breaking news here. We're just getting responses then back from the company, and maybe so they already provided you with that email link where you can log back in, or are you waiting?
I just emailed, as you talked about that, I just emailed them to let them know I did not receive the link. So
all right. Well, you almost got helped with it, but I think again, I'm encouraged to know that at least they are reaching out to people and recognize that you should get paid and that they're going to give you a route to be able to fix an incomplete question rather than just saying, because they want that data, right? Like they want the data and they also want to, reward service providers that spent that time working on it. So thank you very much for that feedback. And I think we have a few more questions that came up. Teresa, you can go ahead and ask your question. Oh, it's in the chat already. Is Tailored Day Services only for those seeking employment or wanting to pursue further education? Tailored Day Services has a lot of flexibility as long as it can fit into one of the, kind of broad areas that are in there. It does not have to specifically be tied to employment. So yeah, Teresa, that's why I think we want to do the workshop about hearing consistencies about what Tailored Day Services is. That's what Carol Watello brought up a few weeks ago as well, is just, can we really be clear about what you can and can't do? And so I think over the last few weeks of meeting with the day program folks, meeting with Carly as our employment specialist, I have a much better picture of what Tailored Day Services can do, but I don't want to limit it based off of what our own creativity is at the regional center. That's one of the reasons why we want to bring in the Disability Thrive Initiative, because they represent like a whole lot of providers throughout the state as well that they've been interacting with. And hopefully we can pull in some really creative ideas from them as well as we look to meet service provider goals in how they want to run their company. Let's see, as there will be a number of program design addendums submitted over the next few months, does ACRC have a template addendum that they want us to use? Again, I think that's a great idea for us to be kind of standardize things, right? Like if, and we've certainly done that in the past with different addendums that we have looked at. Have we, day program folks, have we already established what template we want to use or what we want to ask for yet?
No, John, we haven't. We just kind of give them a general idea of what we want to see in the addendum, but we don't actually have a template that we send out. At least I've never seen one.
And I think with the template, which is not a bad idea, I'm all about prescribing to people what we really need, and because otherwise people end up spending so much time. I've personally experienced this, I don't know how many times, where people write so much more than we really actually need. And then we end up getting, sometimes things that conflict with other areas of the program design that are in the addendum. So let us, as we talk about streamlining this move out of alternative services day program, folks, I don't know if I'll be able to meet with you guys next week, but over the next couple weeks, let's see if we can get a meeting together where we can look at an addendum, some addendum language, and addendum language that is tied to what we've already heard from our service providers, right? Like Shirley gave us the list, right? We've got a number. I got from case management, I got a list of programs as well that are looking at changes that I kind of hadn't heard from yet. And so let's get together as CSS staff and look at a template that we can utilize that kind of matches some of these requests that are coming in. And Carly dropped in the chat the 4 different categories that TDS can be used for as well. And I think that we are going to hook up Teresa with her community services specialist to sit down and go over a bunch of these specific questions. And that's one of the things that we can do. By coming to this meeting, you can get connected to your specialist, and your specialist, usually they're here, will be able to hear what your needs are. So Teresa, please reach out to your assigned community services specialist. And certainly as they work with you, they have access to me, they have access to Jordan, they have access to Jean, and we are bringing on 2 new managers next month as well. So we'll be bringing on, again, Helen Neary, who will be starting on September 12th. And then we are going to be bringing on Michelle McDonald, and Michelle McDonald will be starting on September 26th. Michelle McDonald has worked for some of you guys in the past and has been a service coordinator for the last 5 years out of our Tri-Counties unit and out of Yuba City. And so very excited to have someone that has experience working at even at a management level with our service providers as we look at really working closely with service providers to make modifications to their service delivery, again, as we come out of alternative services. That's also the reason why I moved the workshop back a couple weeks, so that we can make sure we have all of the information from the Department of Developmental Services about reinventing day programs. But also that we will have Michelle on by that time as well. So some of you will be able to begin working with her as the new community services manager that oversees the adult and the residential services. So I will open it up for questions if folks have other questions. Otherwise, I think we will look at adjourning our meeting. I hate saying things like that because then people feel like I can't ask a question because it's going to make the meeting run longer, like you're in college or something like that, when that person just keeps asking questions and you just want to leave. So that being said, if there is anything that you need really specifically, please reach out to your community services specialists. That is what they are here for. They want to know what is going on with you as a company. And again, we've got our specialists like Rima. We've got our specialists like Carly. We've got our specialists like Cindy Lay, who work across with multiple different service codes. It can work with multiple different vendors as well, you know, in our unit. And again, we're very pleased to have Jordan bringing on her health and safety waiver specialist to assist us as well. So hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will look forward to talking to folks in 2 weeks. And just remember that there is no meeting next Friday, and we will again look forward to talking to folks in the next 2 weeks. Take care. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.